Okay, hello everybody, and thank you very much for watching this video. This video is going to be a very quick demonstration of um, a Dungeon Master Oracle tool that you could use to basically play Dungeons and Dragons or even other role-playing systems by yourself, essentially. For example, if a group can't meet up, or if there's no one, you don't know anybody that's into this, but you really want to get into the hobby, perhaps this is a way forward for you. Or if you play loads of D&D anyway, and you just want to get on with it, then of course, it's another excellent tool that you could use, in fact, to run encounters. Say, for example, you buy a pre-planned campaign book and you want to test encounters before you throw your group into the mix, and see how it plays out. It's a good option for that as well, to try and think of examples. But this Oracle tool that I've made, essentially, it's still very much a work in progress. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be showing the Excel spreadsheet that I've got here. And then I'm going to show, in tandem with it, a program I use called Tabletop Simulator, which you can buy on Steam. Absolutely brilliant bit of software, can't rate it highly enough. I've been using this for years now, and certainly in the last year and a half or so, have been running pretty much all of my D&D games as a dungeon master and as a player, using tabletop, and learnt a lot from it. But we'll go through that shortly. So basically, the Oracle tool. Okay, so the hard part of, if you like, being a dungeon master and a player and all that sort of thing is, a lot of it's the role play, like, in my mind. So, for example, you can learn the rules, and that's great, know when to roll dice, when to add things, when to take away conditions, and all that sort of thing. But a lot of the fluff in between is the storytelling and the adventure of it. Because if you just roll dice, and just move models around, or tokens, or whatever, then it can get very flat. It's just basically a combat board game, which, nothing wrong with that. But D&D is a role-playing game, and so a lot of it is putting your mind and yourself, and imagining that you are your character, if you like, and what decisions you do, how do you interact with this object, what's going on here. And being a DM and as a player in solo play, that is really difficult, and it's very draining. And I've been experimenting with this for many years now, like how best you could do this, but whilst sort of keeping it, I want to say, not fresh as such, but keeping it interesting for you, so you don't think, well, I know what's coming around the corner. This is exciting. Oh yeah, this is great. Whatever. Um, and so you can actually be an element of randomness to your own sessions, where you don't have to basically think about everything, and so it just leaves you to play and get on with the game. And so this is the function, essentially, of this Oracle tool. um, okay, so essentially I'll break down what I'm going through with it really here. So essentially, the commentary, this is where the entries will be logged in your Excel when we load up the Oracle in a minute, and I'll go through that there. As I said, work in progress, but it essentially logs activities and things that you do, and there's room to add narration, and obviously a big part of decision making, essentially, for you, so you don't have to roll endless dice just to find out what's in the room or whatever. So the commentary will essentially go there. The Oracle response and the mood is a bit of a double column, as it were. Essentially, this is what the program kind of throws out at you, and a lot of the decisions, if you like, are basically based on a yes/no response. So you could put in the commentary, for example, I am in a room. Are there any monsters in here? Ask the Oracle, and it'll go yes or no. And then you can kind of think, okay, well, there's nothing here, or there is, whatever. Okay, what do I do about it? And so on and so forth. And we'll definitely go through some examples, to further illustrate this point. Okay. So an intervention, character contribution, tactics, these are all other sort of outputs from the Oracle program that I've written in Basic, essentially the Excel, the normal developer here, Visual Basic. So nothing grand, I'm not a computer programmer or anything like that, but just simple stuff, okay? But yes, the intervention, character contribution, tactics, that's essentially asking the Oracle, like, okay, so let's say we've seen a monster in this room we've just come into. Well, is it just going to attack, or what is it? So you could ask it, like, what's the morale, or what's this creature thinking? Is it aggressive? Is it whatever? Okay, great, and then you start building up this picture. So then you think, okay, well, it's doing this, this, and this. And then anything unexpected is like another random layer. You could be like, there is a monster in this room who's very hungry, but he's asleep, or something. It's just like an extra layer of complexity. And then the party member affected, that's for things like targeted effects, or let's say a monster attacks, right, I'm going to attack the party and there's multiple characters. Well, which one would he attack? If you play favorites of yourself, then you're essentially, cheating yourself, if you like. So you think, well, let's randomize who it attacks. It might make sense, it might not, but I think at this point it'll probably be a good place to show an example here. But before that, we'll just finish up here with the characters. And this is sort of a bit of a work in progress, this top area, okay? And essentially, characters is like a character bank here. So it's essentially like a search function or drop-down menu and logging. Same with enemies. You could write down a whole list of enemies here, plot NPCs or whatever, populate it as a go or not. That's fine. And then the same with spells, grouping them up with like whether they're sort of buff types or attack spells. Again, it's part of like a search function in the actual Oracle tool itself. Okay, so with that, I'm going to load the Oracle. Okay, so here we go. It's a big old bit of screen here. Okay, I see there's lots of different buttons, and so and again, most of them would be self-explanatory. They just do like a role for you, but some of them are a little bit more complicated. So let's say, for example, I've already made a character. It's just a template character. Call him Antonius. Okay, level 5 fighter. Nothing too exciting. Just an example. So what I'm going to do with the tabletop is I'm also going to be running that in tandem, and basically we'll flick through here and there. But before we go on to tabletop, just a bit more on the Oracle tool. So for example, we're starting off at the start of the dungeon. Okay, so we could say, I'm going to insert some narrative because, like I said, you could save this, export it to a text file, make a story out of it, share with your friends, upload online or whatever. So I'm going to let something like Antonius finds himself in a dungeon entrance. How exciting. Okay. Now this could be absolute like monster spiels if you're a story writer, that's great. Or what I often do is with my microphone, I actually use dictation software, and therefore I could like talk and it'll pick up what I'm saying, and it just saves the typing and can often be quicker. And the more you do it, the more you get exciting. Okay, so he is ready for adventure. Okay, so I'm just going to insert narrative only. It's not going to ask any questions. This is purely just a log. Okay, so there we go, added. So there we are. So we can see over here, narrative, what I've typed in, how exciting, da, 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 and it clears the screen. Ideal. So then we could ask, okay, so let's ask the Oracle question. So in the first room, does Antonius see any obvious threats? I mean, I'm being very vague with this, if you like, but you can go into as much detail as one, as long as it's a kind of yes/no kind of question. Otherwise, it's not really going to make much sense. And you might have to iterate a few questions. So in the first room, does he see any obvious threats? Aha. So Oracle response. Okay, so it pumps out what I've typed there, and the Oracle response is no, but. Okay, and this screen is a little bit big. I appreciate that. So, might get in the way. So it says no, but. Okay, so it's decided for me no, but So we go, okay, well, so what could you do then? So let's see. Let's do a perception check then. Okay, so what I didn't do there is I didn't select a character. So what I could actually do is hide that. I could delete this entry because I've obviously cocked that up there. Reload, and then what I could do is I click on Antonius there. That's like the character select. I should label this properly, but as I said, very much a work in progress. and okay, so now I'll do like a perception check. Okay, that's better. So Antonius the Lance attempts a perception skill check, and I get a 2. Not great, is it? Okay, so you could think, well, he's rolled a 2. That is, unless he's got amazing perception, which he doesn't, he's not really going to see a lot. So we could say, convinced that there are no threats in here. Since there are no threats in here, Antonius feels ready to move on. Are there any hidden threats not perceived? So there we go. So we've rolled the roll. He hasn't seen anything, but is there actually anything in there that we don't know? Like, if you like, this is in the sort of the DM shoes now. You think, well, he's not seen anything, but is there anything there? So let's consult the oracle. Yes, but okay. So there is a threat in here. But so that little extra bit, yes, but okay. So we could say, well, yes, but so the threat is there. Is the threat a let's say is the threat a creature? Yes, and okay, so it is a creature, and so we think, okay, so it's a creature. Yes, and so let's think, what sort of psychology do we think, or morale, might this be, creature see? So we could say, what is the NPC's mood? Let's see what he's doing. So it's actually indifferent. That's what it's come up with. Just double checking there's nothing unexpected. So he's indifferent. Okay, so has this creature seen seen Antonius? Yes, but okay. So now we could have done a perception check, or we could say, like in my mind, for example, I'm thinking perhaps there's something hidden here. With that perception roll, it's pretty low, bar like a stealth, a really crap stealth check, which I should add. That's a really good point, actually. I should add another skill there. So you've seen him, for example, and we could say, oh, right, here we go. So maybe he's hiding, but he's indifferent now. He doesn't really care. So you've seen him, but so we could say, is this creature, like, I don't know, maybe let's say, oh, is this creature hungry and therefore not fussed about attacking Antonius? Yes, and so he's hungry. Actually, no, that's a bit of a crap question there. It's like almost a double negative. Is this creature hungry and therefore not fussed? Well, if he was hungry, he probably would attack. So I'm going to actually delete that, and we'll rephrase that. So, is the creature too busy eating something to be bothered with Antonius? I should probably put like a delete function here rather than going in and out, but again, that's something to iterate. Aha, okay. So this is an interesting pump out there, intervention there. So is the creature too busy eating something to be bothered with Antonius? So no, he's not too busy. So we can imagine, right, there's this creature, he's eating something. But he's a little bit bothered by Antonius. And with this entity positive, okay, so this gives like a prompt to think to DM, okay, what if this creature is eating eating someone that could actually help Antonius, or maybe it's like a villager, or something good like that. Is the positive entity a villager from that needs help? No, but okay. Okay, so we're still thinking like, so it's a positive entity, but so we could say, is there? Yeah, what could we do? We could say, is the positive entity villager that needs help? No, but. Okay. So we could say, so in this case, then you could think, well, like as you can see, we've already got several entries, and we've basically not even got through the front door. And you might think, oh my God, this is going on forever. Now, this is your absolute prerogative, then, to go. Actually, this is dragging on a bit now. Let's like move on, if you like. But of course, the option there is if you think, I really want to see where this interaction goes. You of course, you can really go into it detail, but the picture's sort of building up, that something's there. So so it could be perhaps, let's just say, well, what can we do? This is where I would open up to like a Q&A, perhaps. What can we do here? Is the positive entity a villager that needs help? No. So then we decide, okay, so the entity is in fact a let's say another creature that has in fact rebelled against its tribe. So there we are. It's just a bit of narrative there. There we go. So we've done that. But remember, we go back. Antonius didn't even see this, but the creatures did, and obviously, if he's indifferent, doesn't really care. So let's move on. So let's pretend now this dungeon has multiple exits. We could say, let's move forward then. Okay. So there we go. It makes a log. The party moves forward. Da, 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 da. So notice at this point, I'm not using any maps or anything like that. Okay, but this is where it could be really interesting and actually move now into something like tabletop, or even if you don't have that, you could have a bit of pen and paper in front of you now and actually start drawing something out. There's lots of different tools you could use to do this. Okay, so let's say we're moving forward then. What observation generator could we use? Let's see. So here we go again. So observation, we've seen the environment, and there's an entity interacting with another obvious entity. Ooh, so roll observation again. Okay, cool. Let's see. Ooh, right. Okay, so so we've actually seen now that it's a threat. If you like, this is like DM mode now. So what lurks ahead is a threat, but it's a possible illusion, as we've got there. Make an intelligence check. Okay, so what could potentially be useful here, just think about it now, is just a straightforward roller. But for now, let's do like an investigation check, because that'll still pump out a roll. So an investigation check for Antonius. He fumbles. Okay, so that is a 1. In house rules for me, a 1 is an automatic fail regardless of your skill, and a 20 is a crit and will hit no matter the armor class, if you like. So 100% fail or success. So he has not seen or determined that this illusion is an illusion. So whatever it is, he perceives as real. Okay, so as he sees this threat, then Antonius, what could be going through his mind? You might think, well, let's go hit it, let's go do this, but maybe there's a bit of psychology at play. He's just seen something. Let's see what sort of psychology is going on then. Ooh, okay. So, negative psychology stress. Previous character, so Antonius in this case, develops a short-term psychological condition. Ooh, mild stress, and therefore we have disadvantage on the next perception check. Okay, so disadvantage in 5th edition D&D, if you like, could be you roll twice basically, and you take the lowest roll, and that's what you have to use. But again, this, you could use it in other systems. This is not strictly D&D. It's just personally what I play. Okay, so so Antonius, then we're getting up this picture then, aren't we? That he's just entered a dungeon. He hasn't seen anything. Something has seen him, and he's moved on through. And there's this threat ahead. Some entity is interacting with something else, and Antonius hasn't noticed that is actually an illusion. So, and it's like, oh wow, what's going on? What's he thinking? Mild stress. There we are. It doesn't have to be absolutely mental, but it's like a role play guide, if it were, a pointer. Okay, so at this point then, okay, I think this could be quite good now to swap over to, include now tabletop simulator to emphasize what we might have, what we've rolled, if you like, and elaborate a little bit more on there. Okay, so I've scrolled up the Oracle a little bit just to make a bit of room, and what we could see now then is on Tabletop Simulator then. So just to zoom out to demonstrate my particular layup, I have a saved file called a Delve Creator. Those familiar with games like with Elder Scrolls, they're like more delves as opposed to like dungeons sort of thing. I quite like that. And for the purposes of this at the moment, ignore these bags around. These are like different objects and things that I use to make a three-dimensional dungeon. But I'm not going to go into that right now. This is like a very basic sort of introduction to my Oracle tool, just to sort of prove a point, if you like, and demonstrate what it's about. So what I want to do now is arbitrarily got like a little character token here. So here we have Antonius. There he is. That's his little token there. And one of the tools I use is like a heads-up display tracker for different models. So you could do like hit points, things like that. Or you could even do like different like buff icons as well. For example, if I look at buff, spell icons, that's the one. Okay, so say for example, I've saved these from a different box, as it were. So let's say, for example, I cast Bless. I mean, as a fighter, I don't, but if I wanted to have the Bless buff, there you go. I've created the icon. And if I wanted to see what effects that he's got, there you go. I could see he's got Bless up. I can also modify things like my health and temporary hit points here. But mostly for now, up and down here, this is absolutely fine. And once you get used to like what the symbols mean, again, I know what the symbols mean because I created them and uploaded them, but they're good visual reminders of effects. They could be number of uses for things like character abilities, or they could be wounds, and other things represent basically. But as he is not blessed, as he is not a cleric, he cannot have that. But as a fighter, I could perhaps have like second wind icon there to remind me that I've still got second wind uses, or action surge, that sort of thing. Okay, so I've got also a little goblin here because, I know in the Oracle we actually said just a creature at this point in time. At this point, depend on the level of the adventure or what's going on, or even if you're running it from like a DM book, you could. In fact, it could already be the creatures determined for you. But in this case, I've decided let's just call it a goblin because we all know what goblins are, and it's pretty straightforward. So the entities in this case, we'll now call them goblins. Okay, so let's say, for example, we haven't sort of described exactly what this dungeon looks like. We've just said, we went forward a bit, we arrived. So again, just sort of making it up as you go. You might have an idea or pre-made dungeon in mind, but I'm just going to draw something very, very simple here. So let's represent a really basic tunnel coming in. Okay, let's say this is like the room where that goblin was, who is indifferent, and he's like maybe eating or doing something with a rebellious little tribesman. And then it continued up ahead, and this is where we kind of got to the point where there's like potential illusion going on here. So what I'll do is I'll create a copy of him there, and I'll create two goblins up there. I'll do another one just here, but I'll do him a different color, just so you see that he stands out nicely. So that could be, say, the friendly goblin. Okay, so you can imagine then we've sort of come in, we've done a bit of exploring with Antonius, we've moved up. Oh, do we see anything? No, he didn't, because the perception was really low, so he didn't see anything. But this goblin, while he's busy munching away on his buddy over here, saw him, but he was indifferent, didn't really give a crap about it, so assumed okay, didn't move on. Antonius then didn't see anything. He continues up the corridor and he sees this potential illusion. And this is where psychologically he's a bit stressed. So he has disadvantage on his next perception check. So again, the psychology buff markers, that's something I could potentially expand on and add little counters. So again, people are like, oh yes, I've got this going on. It could be too in-depth what you like. I personally quite like that sort of depth feeling. It feels a bit roguelike and it feels more, like, oh, the stresses and trauma of adventuring. And it's not just, oh, we're all mighty heroes and well-armed and, we're here to save the day. I kind of like to think, yes, you are exceptional more than like your average villager or, Joe Bloggs. But at the same time, you also like living creature as well who has fears. And when you read all your favorite novels, they're not all just I am mighty and kill stuff. They've all got fears, concerns, doubts, worries. And so a system like having something like this, that element of it, it kind of makes them, to me, it makes them feel a bit more real. Like I already feel for Antonius. He's moved in, and he's already feeling a bit stressed, bless him, and he's barely got past the first room. Oh my God, what's going on? Poor guy. So with this then, in tandem then, so I've got tabletop in tandem with the Oracle system. And so down here, what I've got for my convenience is I have a copy of a character sheet in PDF that you can upload into tabletop. Just for some ideas, it's not a complete character sheet. This was just, an example, but also just shows that, a quick reference rather than, going from screen to screen to screen. Okay, and the same for the goblin stats. Like just to prove a point with this Oracle system, I will go through a very quick like combat, as it were. Okay, so so let's say, for example, just to like I said, prove this point and show you the combat system, how it could go. So let's assume then now this goblin decides actually he's fed up of eating his mate and he's gonna surprise Antonius. Because obviously Antonius didn't see him in the first place, he's had a change of heart, so we could assume that yes, he's had a change of heart and he's just going to go and whack Antonius and go for it. Okay, so at this point then we could actually add this in the narrative. So now in the Oracle tool, we could say the goblin decides to attack Antonius as he is fed up of eating his mate. Again, I'm kind of just showing a point here. So, okay, so the Golbin. Oh my God, what's the Golbin? Eek! God, they sound terrifying. Whatever this Golbin is, maybe that's his name. So he comes in, so he manages, he goes, right, I'm fed up of this. You could elaborate or whatever as much you want to imagine it. Comes in for a surprise attack. So to show the attacks then, so we can say, what morale and tactics do we have then? If you could do this or not. Again, it adds a little bit of interpretation, if you like, to the system. So let's see what the goblin does, basically. Combat NPC tactics. Okay, so tactically, the goblin is feeling tactical. Lure and ambush. So, okay, looking back a little bit in hindsight then, although we kind of preemptively said he's going to attack, but maybe that was actually why he was indifferent. Perhaps we could imagine he was waiting for Antonius to move by, hopefully not be seen, and then when Antonius moves out of line of sight, he's going to sneak up on him. Typical Golbin here. Those Golbins, God, sneaky, aren't they? So that kind of works out quite nicely, but that was very fluky. It just worked out that way. But there you go. There's an example. Think, so you could now, where I went back to originally and said about, the monster, as a DM, how do you play your monsters? You don't want to kill your characters or whatever, but how do you play it fairly? Well, there you go. You don't have to think, is he going to attack? What's he going to do? One click of this program, if you like. I'm not trying to sell you this, by the way. It's just showed you, in case you're wondering what's the product to sell. So with this, then, you basically we got tactics. I now, as a DM hat on, I don't have to worry now about, oh, how am I going to play this monster? There you go. He's a lure and ambush. He's done that. Now he's going to attack. So here we go then. So Antonius is the only target, but this would be like the character slots. This is the monster slots, okay? So I'm going to select the Goblin Warrior is going to attack Antonius. Monster melee attack. Okay, so first of all, let's go with this pop-up then. So total damage roll. So if I were to hit, this is where you could put the numbers in or the effects or whatever. And so forth, and it will complete the rest of this entry. Okay, but moving over here, so we've got Goblin Warrior focuses intently on their target, Antonius, before suddenly striking out with an attack. Okay, again, random descriptions, because what I've got in the Visual Basic Code, I've essentially got a number roller is like between 1 and 20 or 1 and 30. I can't remember exactly how many descriptions I've got. And it's basically a case of whatever number you roll, it will pump out this particular description of text. So what I'm hoping is, as this like channel and perhaps the Oracle gets more traction and more interest, by all means, please, put down an idea of how you describe someone attack. Maybe they sneak up and lunge and attack the ankles and they dive in and out. However, be really descriptive. But rather than just going, the goblin attacks the character and you do this damage. I am a robot. Your move, model, remove from play. Well done. Rather than be just really mechanical, this is where the fun of the DM describes, and the player sort of, I move in and I attack and I miss horribly or whatever. This is where you get to do like fun, exciting descriptions and make it feel alive. Okay, so with the roll, to simplify the hit roll, it's great. Okay, so we got a d20. We rolled a 10. The goblin is not very good, bless him, because this goblin has +4 to hit, so total roll of 14. And I know that Antonius, just as a quick reference up here, I put 21, but also on his character sheet has got that. I better check before I. Yep, he is 21. Okay, so I cheat myself. So that is a miss. So this total damage roll, leave blank or cancel if miss. Okay, leave it blank. There you go. I've logged it as a miss. Goblin. But saying that though, he actually has advantage because if he sneaked up on him, so we could do a second attack. Okay, so we imagine now the second attack comes in, and this time he takes an aggressive stance and attempts to turn their opponent, Antonius, before making their attack. So this time he's like, you can imagine he's perhaps come in and try to be sneaky, and then he tries to get another attack because the advantage, or perhaps it was one attack, and it's actually the better roll that you could imagine it how you like. But either way, he rolled a 3, which was worse than the first one, so he definitely misses. So he missed. Okay, so at this point you could roll initiative now because the surprise round is over, and let's say Antonius, he sees this goblin and goes, oi, stitch this mate, I'm not having that. So over here we've got Antonius and the goblin already selected. If there are multiple monsters, you'd have this list which you could change. But now I'm going to do a character melee attack, okay? So I'm going to use this button here instead of the monster, and we have, ouch. Oh, that's going to hurt. Okay, so Antonius notices a weak spot in the Goblin Warrior defenses and prepares to strike. And with a 19, that is going to ruin his day. Okay, so at this point, they're definitely going to roll damage because just a 19 will hit the armor, but plus his attack roll, which will be +7 anyway, because he's got a magical spear that I give him. That's nice. So 26 total. He is definitely hit. The poor old goblin has got armor class 15. Oh dear. So this spear that Antonius has, does acid damage as well. So in this case we do D8 for the spear, +4 because he's got 16 strength and +1 from the magic spear, and then he do D6 acid damage. So let's say arbitrarily he does 10 points of damage. I haven't rolled it, but just to show you. Okay, so there we go. It says, 10 total damage. Okay, let's say, for example, we've actually killed the monster. That was enough because it's a goblin. It's not hard. Okay, so let's do some narrative for the defeated monster. Again, it's another one of those random description pump outs. Okay, and we have, horrible death Okay, so that's a really crap description, and I should probably go away and work on that. But again, it would be a sort of lots of descriptions like they gurgle and fall to the ground in a big heap and die, or oh my god, the end of the world, you know, as everything caves in and it all goes dark, and you go, no, why, and then die. All these sorts of descriptions, you know, could be added into the code of this. But basically, a big red thing that, you know, to highlight Goblin Warrior defeated. And what we've got here, party member affected, Antonius the Lance. So it's logged, you know, for those of you who like to track who kills what and who's the hero of the hour, there you go, Antonius killed it. Okay, so essentially then, these other spell here, if it was like a spell attack, it would essentially be the same thing. So let's assume we haven't killed the goblin and I wanted to do a um, piercing smite, really cool smell. Really cool smell. Oh my god, really cool spell from Elminster's Guide to Magic. It's a supplement. That comes up. I'm not sure if it's official DM's Guild, but or official Wizards of the Coast. But either way, it's a supplement. House rules. I love all the extra stuff, sort of thing, and 99% of it I think is really great. Some of it is ridiculously overpowered. Not quite, but take each case that comes. But Piercing Smite is very cool. He's not a paladin, but just to show you an example of a spell attack. So in this case, you'd pick a spell, and I would do a spell attack. So I cast Piercing Smite, or Antonius casts Piercing Smite at Goblin Warrior. Again, this is a work in progress. I've got to do more, you know, like you conjure up magical energy and focus it in a ball and fire it at the target, you know, variations of a theme. And again, it comes with a roll and all that stuff, so you could log it. Okay, let's say I do a million that much damage. There we go. So you could write in that much damage and you're stunned or whatever effect. And the point of it is it just logs it. Okay, and essentially that is pretty much the Oracle, really, as it is in its current form. There is plenty still to work on. As I said, you know, the more I play through it, you know, I think, oh, I should add this and I should add that or whatever. But this is just a very basic introduction, really, to what I'm doing. And what I'm really looking forward to in future videos is basically to do like a mini adventure with, say, a small party, and actually run through it all, take notes, what could do, what be good, listen to feedback, and actually perhaps show you as well like a more 3D dungeon, like pre-prepared, and actually run through a mini adventure. But this is just an introduction. Look forward to any comments. And once again, thank you very much for watching the video. Have a great day.